Hi, my name's Dottie. I'm a compulsive eater and I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the GreySheet. I write it down, call it into my sponsor. I don't eat in between meals. And for today, abstinence is the most important thing in my life. My abstinence date is August 16th, 1999, and I live in the Villages in Florida. And I discovered in the end of January that I was to have a rotator cuff operation on my left shoulder. It was scheduled for March 1st, so I had a little more than a month to prepare for it. So the first thing I do is I go to my sponsor as usual. I chose a sponsor who had more time than me because that matters to me. I need somebody who has experience because wisdom comes with that. And if she doesn't have an answer, she knows other sponsors who may have the right answer for me. The important thing is not to make my own decisions. If I do that, I'll end up in another 12-step program, and I don't have time for that. So my priority really is to be self-sufficient. I'm an isolator, and I like to do things on my own, and I don't want to be dependent on others. And so, how do I prepare for this operation? It's not a major operation, but it's the recovery that's going to be difficult. So the first thing I did was I worked at emptying my freezer, cooking that food to make sure the freezer was empty. And I did a online search for one-handed gadgets because I everything I did, I had to look and say, how many hands does it take to do this? Because I'm only going to have one hand that's useful. And I did find a can opener that was battery powered. I could start it with one hand, and it worked. It took the top off the can, though I don't know how to turn it off. I have to fight with it to get the lid to get it to stop. I have to fight to get the lid away. And the other opener, bottle opener, attached to the bottom of the cabinet. It works well for smaller things like a bottle of water, things like that. Larger bottles did take two hands. I just didn't have the strength of one hand to use that. So I used a regular bottle opener to break the vacuum seal, and then I could open it. I did buy some surgery tops, and I discovered that the Velcro is easier to handle than the little snaps. I found them more difficult because I had to be able to dress and undress, without moving the affected arm. I became very overwhelmed rather quickly when I started thinking about all that I had to do to prepare. Besides cleaning the house and running errands and doing the cooking and filling up that freezer with my GreySheet food, weighed and measured, the overwhelm was setting in, and it was suggested that I write a list. I like lists, and to prioritize what I need to do. And I realized looking at the list, a lot of it was self-care things, and I could do that the day before the operation. And that removed a lot of things. And then I went back to the cooking. I had to do cooking because it takes two hands to make the raws. I don't know if I could hold something with the left hand as I cut with the right. I wasn't too sure what, my level of use that I would have. I could use my fingers, but will the arm rotate from the elbow? And it didn't for the first week and a half or 2 weeks. And let me see. So with the cooking, I cooked vegetables. The best option I found was weighing out 8 ounces of cooked vegetable. I use Ziploc freezer quart bags because they're thick. They're good for the freezer. I don't want freezer burn. So I would weigh out my 8 ounces with no fat. I could always add fat, but I can't take the fat away. So I would roll it up, seal it, and then I'd put the smaller thing into a gallon Ziploc freezer bag, so it had a double protection. I could fit 10, 12 8-ounce vegetables into a gallon bag and seal it up and put it in the freezer, and I made quite a few of those. And then I made some dinner ones, 16 ounces with a couple of fats, so the other 8 ounces would be either a vegetable substitute or the smaller vegetable thing I made. I made 4 proteins, and I alternated them, so I would have variety. My 5th protein was my breakfast protein, which was always the same. My 6th protein was a backup protein. So, and I still have protein. I know. And then I had to look at things, like the spice I like. 2 of them are in grinders, and that takes 2 hands. So I went out and I bought those 2 spices. I bought them pre-ground in little things that you shake it out. So just to be clear on that. And I bought cans and jars and pouches of abstinent food. And I try to keep, and I already had some, so I have to keep an eye on the expiration date or the best buy date. I don't want to waste food, of all things. I don't want to waste food. So I used to work in the restaurant industry when I was young, and I learned about rotation. You put the newer stuff towards the back and the older stuff toward the front. So this way, you're not wasting food. And, I did have an idea. I go, I'll go to the beauty parlor and have them wash my hair and blow my hair out. I didn't have the energy for that at all. And my next door neighbor helped me. I have 2 neighbors who helped me, and that was good. And I was surprised. Okay, after the operation, I didn't know that they were going to put a breathing tube in my throat. That I don't know anything about that. I never knew. I've never had anything like that happen. But when I came out of it, my throat was so terribly sore that I couldn't eat the originally planned food, the smaller meals that I made, because I didn't think I would be, the ravenous, hungry person that I normally am. And I had to switch, of course, my sponsors knows that I have to switch to softer foods. Luckily, the breakfast protein was very smooth, and the cooked, some of the cooked vegetables are smooth, and there are canned vegetables that can be very smooth. And I was able to eat that, until my throat was better. And what else surprised me? And I did go through everything. I have to wear a sling for 5 weeks. And I couldn't make enough food, to cover that. The freezer wasn't big enough. So, right now I'm in the jars and the cans, and it's still good. My food is still good. And it's no matter what. I don't eat no matter what. And it's just one day at a time. And I was very glad. I was very lucky I was able to plan in advance. I plan, prepare, and protect my abstinence. It's the most important thing I have. Without it, I really wouldn't have a life. I'm terrified of the disease, if I should ever pick up. I didn't know what abstinence was. I didn't, I'm not a dieter. I'm terrified of being empty. I didn't know that was a spiritual problem. I tried to fix that with food, filling the emptiness within. And I work this program, and I focus on gratitude, to be grateful for what I have. And I'm living contented abstinence, and I have life in between my meals, even with a sling, and it's just one day at a time. And thank you so much